I knew I didn't belong the second I stepped into the Country Hills Golf Club reception hall. The room was all polished mahogany, gold accents, crystal chandeliers, too shiny, too perfect. I tugged at my gray sport coat, already sweating. Every guy in the room looked like he walked out of a GQ cover shoot. Rolexes, silk ties, cufflinks. Even the waiters looked richer than me. Alyssa squeezed my hand as we paused by the entrance. "You look great," she said, smiling like she meant it. She always saw the best in me, even when I didn't. Josh fidgeted beside us, tugging at the stiff collar of his navy blazer. He was 7 and already hated formal wear. "Dad, this jacket's itchy." I knelt down, straightened his tie, and whispered, "Get through this, and we'll hit the hotel pool after." He nodded, but his face said this whole thing was weird. He wasn't wrong. Before we could move any farther, a voice behind us called out, "Champagne?" I waved it off. Alyssa took a glass. I scanned the crowd. Mostly older couples, younger professionals. I didn't recognize a soul until I did, and it felt like taking a bat to the ribs. She was across the room, half turned toward the fireplace, laughing at something someone said. Blonde hair, black dress, heels way too high for a wedding reception. Her laugh cut through the hum of conversation like a damn fire alarm. Jenna. I blinked hard. No way. I looked at the name on the invitation again in my head. Jonathan Meyer, my younger brother. I hadn't made the connection. Meyer was our mom's maiden name. Jonathan switched to it during residency. I hadn't even known he was remarried, let alone to her. Her. She turned. Our eyes locked. It hit her a second later than it hit me. The glass in her hand froze halfway to her mouth. Her jaw went slack. For a second, she didn't move. Then color drained from her face so fast, I thought she was gonna faint. I felt Alyssa shift beside me. She hadn't noticed yet. Someone behind me muttered, "Is that Ryan Hartman?" Then more whispering started, like a ripple through water. Quick note, before listening, share which city or country you're watching from. Jenna didn't look away. She was frozen. Guilty, like she'd seen a ghost. Maybe I looked like one to her. My stomach twisted. I wasn't just crashing a wedding, I was crashing my own damn past. Josh tugged my sleeve again. "Can we sit now?" "Yeah," I muttered, standing up straight. I took Alyssa's hand, gritted my teeth, and walked right into the reception hall like I belonged there. We barely made it 10 feet into the reception hall before I heard my name. "Ryan?" I turned. Jonathan stood near the head table, halfway through adjusting his cufflinks. His face shifted fast, smiled at confusion, then something close to dread. He walked over, hands raised like he wasn't sure whether to shake mine or shove me back out the door. I didn't know you were coming," he said, glancing between me and Alyssa. "Are you with... who invited..." Alyssa stepped up next to me. "Dr. Klein. They worked together on the hospital integration task force." Jonathan blinked like he'd just taken a hit. "Dr. Klein?" From behind him, I heard glass clink. Jenna had caught up. She grabbed his arm, smiling tight, fake as hell. "There was a mix-up with the list," she said quickly. "It must have been a miscommunication." Bullshit. Then came the old man, Roger Hartman, our father. He stepped in like he'd been waiting backstage for his entrance. Gray hair slicked back, jaw tight, tie knotted too high on his neck like it was strangling him. He stopped beside Jenna and glared at me like I'd pissed on the carpet. "What are you doing here?" he said, low and hard, like I was some drunk wedding crasher. "You need to go." Now, he actually stepped in front of Jenna, like she needed protection, like I was the threat. I didn't move, I didn't flinch, I just looked him dead in the eye. Alyssa cleared her throat and stepped in before I could fire off what I really wanted to say. "Ryan's VP of Ops for Truvital Tech," she said calmly, like she was explaining it to a student who'd missed the obvious. "He and Dr. Klein go back years. We were invited." Personally, the shift in the room was almost instant, like a gust of wind had blown through and changed the whole direction of the conversation. Murmurs grew louder. "Truvital?" someone said from the table behind us. "Is that the software company?" I didn't say anything, just straightened my shoulders a little. Let them look. The DJ changed the track. A few couples awkwardly stepped onto the dance floor, trying to keep things normal. I saw one guy at the bar take out his phone, probably Googling me. Jonathan frowned. "You're with Truvital?" The smart bed system. I nodded once. We piloted it in 15 hospitals across 4 states, rolled statewide in 9 last year, and we're targeting 18 more next quarter. Jenna's eyes darted between us. She looked like she was chewing glass. Roger took a breath through his nose like he was trying not to explode. This isn't the time or the place. You're right, I cut him off. Should have said something when you finalized the list. Oh, wait, Jonathan's brow wrinkled. You didn't get one? Jenna tugged his arm. Can we just talk later? He pulled his arm away just slightly, enough that I caught it. So did she. From across the room, I heard someone say, "That's the guy who built the Truvital back end." They weren't seeing me as the black sheep anymore. They were seeing something else. I looked around. At the linen-draped tables, the open bar, the carefully staged cake. The whole place reeked of money and image. And I realized something right then. They'd built this wedding on a lie. 10 years ago, I left this town with a duffel bag and a busted laptop. Now I held the patent that was saving hospitals millions. And I was just getting started. I was sipping a club soda by the edge of the room, trying to stay out of the spotlight, when one of Jonathan's colleagues, tall guy, maybe mid-40s, slicked hair, and a Rolex that looked older than Josh, walked up and clapped me on the back. "Wait a minute," he said, turning to a group behind him. "This guy built the smart bed system?" I gave a small nod. "Yeah, I was lead engineer before moving into ops. I oversaw the pilot program and back-end deployment." "No kidding," he said, eyes lighting up. "Our ICU turnaround times dropped 30% after rollout. You saved us a fortune on length of stay penalties. Damn impressive." The other doctors around him murmured and leaned in closer. A few hands came out. Questions started flying. How I handled data compression, the custom API build, what we had planned next. I answered a few, keeping it casual but clear. A couple feet away, Jenna was in a tight circle with 2 women and a middle-aged man in a tux. She must have overheard the smart bed mention, because she jumped in like she was dying to reclaim the attention. "Oh, I worked on hospital admin systems too," she said, nodding confidently. "It's all about balancing clinical throughput with procedural reimbursement codes." It sounded like she'd memorized that from a brochure. One of the women, sharp-eyed and skeptical, tilted her head. "Didn't you work in billing?" she asked. There was a pause. Jenna hesitated, blinked fast. "I've managed a few departments over the years." Her voice cracked just enough to draw a look from Jonathan, who'd been standing a few feet away chatting with another colleague. He turned his head slowly toward her, his smile faltering. That was the moment. You could see it in his face, that flicker of doubt, trying to push its way through the trust. His eyes darted to me, then back to her, then to the woman who had asked the question. Something in him shifted. Meanwhile, the guy in front of me was still talking. "So, you're not just the brains? You actually field-tested the platform?" "We piloted in 15 hospitals across 4 states before rolling statewide. 9 last year, 18 more next quarter," I said. Josh tugged on my blazer sleeve. "Dad," he said, pointing across the room at Jenna, "is that your friend?" The table behind us went quiet. "She was a friend once," I said, loud enough for it to land. Jenna froze. Everyone near her looked confused. And then, right on cue, here came Roger again, storming across the floor like he owned the place. He didn't even look at Alyssa or Josh, just marched straight up to me. "You need to leave," he hissed. "You're ruining your brother's wedding." I didn't move an inch. I met his stare, sharp and cold. "No," I said, voice flat. "You ruined that years ago." That landed like a slap. A few people gasped. Someone dropped a fork. Roger stepped closer, his jaw tight. "This isn't about you." "It never was," I shot back. "But you made sure everyone thought it was." Jonathan stepped in, voice low. "Dad." Enough Roger looked at him like he'd lost his damn mind. "You're gonna take his side now?" "I'm just saying." "Stop," Jonathan said, eyes flicking toward Jenna, who was practically vibrating with nerves. Alyssa stepped to my side and put a hand on my back. Josh looked up at me, confused but calm. He'd seen this version of me before, the one that stood his ground. Roger opened his mouth again, but Jonathan cut him off. "Why didn't you tell me you two knew each other?" he asked me directly. "I didn't know until I walked in and saw her face," I said. "Didn't recognize the name on the invite." Jenna's voice came out brittle. "I didn't think it mattered." You didn't think it mattered? Jonathan repeated. Now he looked at her like he didn't know her. The sharp-eyed woman who'd asked about billing leaned toward another guest and whispered something. Heads were turning again. Not toward me this time. Roger stepped back, defeated but angry. The old man never liked losing control. He stared at me one last time, like if he glared hard enough, I'd disappear. I stared right back, still standing, still here. Josh tugged my arm again. Can we go to the pool now? Not yet, buddy, I said, eyes still locked with Roger's. We're not done here. The music had picked back up. Clinks of forks on plates, forced laughs. The kind of noise people make when they're pretending nothing just happened. I stepped out into the hallway by the coat room to breathe. The carpet was too plush, the air too cold. It still smelled like money, like cover-up and cologne. I was about to head back in when I heard footsteps behind me. Jonathan. He didn't say anything at first, just stood there, his tie loosened, face pale like the blood had drained out. Why didn't you tell me? He finally asked. I let out a breath. Tell you what, John. The truth, he said, almost whispering. All of it. I looked him over. His eyes weren't angry anymore, just tired, worn out. They emptied my college fund, I said. All of it. Paid off Jenna's credit cards and car loan behind my back. I found out when my tuition bounced. He blinked. What? I didn't flunk out. I didn't get arrested. That was the story they told, so no one would ask why I wasn't at school anymore. The truth? I was couch surfing, working graveyard shifts at a data center in Columbus. I saved every dime, took classes when I could afford them. He leaned against the wall, stunned. I graduated when I was 26, I said. Took me 8 years. No help, no calls. Just me and some ramen and a busted laptop. He rubbed his jaw. But they said whatever made Jenna look better, I snapped. Made me the screw-up so she could play the victim. He swallowed hard. She told me you were volatile, that you stole from Dad, that you threatened her. She tell you about the car she wrecked in my name, the one they blamed on me? I shook my head. You think I wanted to disappear? I didn't. They shoved me out. Jonathan didn't say anything for a long time. He just stared at the floor like it was going to give him answers. I met Alyssa at a coffee shop near campus, I said finally. She was working night shifts at the hospital. Nursing school by day, paycheck to paycheck like me. She didn't care where I came from. She only cared where I was going. He looked up. You never went to prison? I laughed, cold and sharp. No, John. I went to hell and clawed my way out. He shook his head slowly, like the lies were still falling apart in his mind. They made it sound like you were gone, like it wasn't even worth trying to find you. Yeah, that was the point. We stood there in silence for a minute, just two grown men in a hallway full of shadows. Why now? He asked. Why'd you come? Dr. Klein invited me. Had no clue it was your wedding, neither did I. Walked in, saw Jenna's face, and here we are. He let out a breath and pushed off the wall. Come back inside. We walked in side by side. The air changed again when people saw us together. Jenna spotted us instantly. Her champagne glass wobbled in her hand. She tried to smile, but it was brittle, cracked. She looked at Jonathan, but he wasn't looking at her anymore. He was looking at me, not like I was a ghost, not like I was a problem to manage or a memory to bury. He looked at me like a man seeing something for the first time. Jenna took a shaky sip and looked away. Her mask was slipping, and the cracks were starting to show. I was grabbing a ginger ale from the bar when she came up behind me, heels clicking hard, like she was trying to stab the damn floor with every step. Why are you doing this to me? Jenna hissed. I turned slowly. Her face was flushed, breathing fast. She wasn't holding back anymore. The polished smile from earlier was gone. This was panic, raw and shaking. Doing what? I asked, calm. Existing? You weren't supposed to be here. I raised an eyebrow. Yeah, well. They were wrong. Her hands balled into fists at her sides. She looked around, scanning for ears, for safety. Too late. People had already heard enough, seen enough. They told me you wouldn't come, she said, like that was some kind of defense. I didn't know I was coming either, I said, stepping closer. You think I planned this? I didn't even know you were married to my brother until I saw your face. She flinched like I'd slapped her. I took a sip from my glass. Hell of a reveal, though. Wedding of the decade. She stared at me, teeth clenched. Then she grabbed the cocktail off the bar, some sugary pink thing with a twist of lemon, and threw it back like a shot. Didn't even taste it, just wanted the burn. Then she turned and stormed off across the floor. I didn't chase her. I was done chasing ghosts. But someone else wasn't. Roger. Red-faced, tie crooked now, veins popping in his neck. He walked toward me with that same stupid authority he always carried, like the world owed him silence and obedience. "You're not family anymore," he snapped. "You made your choice when you left." I pulled the folded envelope from my inside pocket and handed it to him. He didn't take it at first. "Go ahead," I said. "Take a look." He snatched it, ripped it open, and stared, eyes flicking fast over the certificate inside. The room buzzed low around us, but all I heard was the quiet between us. 20 shares of Troubadour stock, I said. Issued in my name. You know what that's worth right now? He didn't answer. You threw me out, I said. Told everyone I was a disgrace. Said I wouldn't make it. And now I own a piece of the thing this town's bragging about. His hand tightened on the paper. You still think I'm the disappointment? Roger didn't say a word. He just stood there. No insults, no denial, just a man stuck holding the receipt for a bet he lost 10 years ago. I nodded once and walked right past him. Back home in Indiana, the air felt cleaner, colder too, like the sky had finally dropped the weight it was carrying. Our house sat quiet on the edge of town, nothing fancy, just brick and peace. Josh was at school. Alyssa was on an evening shift. I was working through emails when the doorbell rang. Certified letter. Signature required. I signed without thinking, closed the door, and tore it open on the kitchen counter. Jonathan's handwriting. I knew it immediately. The letter was short, direct, no fluff. Ryan, she lied about everything. Jenna never graduated, never worked in admin, just data entry at a clinic 2 towns over. Every credential she gave me was fake or exaggerated. I filed for annulment this morning. I exhaled through my nose, leaned back against the counter. There was more. She also helped cover up overbilling at the family clinic. I found the documents she altered. I submitted everything to the State Department of Health investigators. Yesterday I stood there, letter shaking a little in my hands. She was manipulating all of us, he wrote, but I was the idiot who brought her home. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I was blinded by their version of you. I read that line twice. That version of me, lazy, angry, unstable, failure. The story they told because they needed a villain. And I made it easy. I left. I disappeared. I didn't fight back when they erased me. I sat down at the kitchen table, the envelope in front of me. I didn't feel satisfied. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt the same as I had 10 years ago, just older, a little heavier, a little more sure of myself. I grabbed a pen and scribbled a response on the back of the envelope. You're not the first, I wrote. I stopped living in their shadow a long time ago. Then I folded it up, slid it back into the torn envelope, and tossed it in the drawer with the bills. I didn't need him to explain himself. I didn't need an apology tour. I already had what they never gave me, my life. And I wasn't handing it back. I got the email late on a Tuesday. Subject line, request for testimony, Hartman Family Clinic investigation. The Department of Health wanted my input. Details on the years I worked there. Roles, timelines, any knowledge of billing practices, nothing dramatic, just a request for the truth. I closed the laptop and walked into the kitchen. Alyssa was stirring pasta on the stove. Josh sat at the table, building a Lego spaceship with one shoe off for no reason. Hey, I said. She turned her head. Everything okay? I held up the phone. Department of Health wants me to testify about the clinic. She didn't flinch, just nodded. What are you going to do? I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. I'm going to send them the old records I kept. From before I left, no statements? She asked. No speeches, no revenge, just facts. She gave a small nod and went back to stirring. That was our rhythm, steady, no drama. I emailed the documents that night, no commentary, just what they asked for. Then, I went to bed and slept harder than I had in weeks. A few weeks later, a letter showed up. Real paper, hand-addressed. I opened it at the kitchen table while Josh colored next to me. It was from Jenna. The handwriting was uneven, like her hand shook when she wrote it. No begging, no excuses, just one page. "You were never the problem," she wrote. "They taught me to see you as a threat." I believed them. I didn't write her back. I didn't need to. But I did one thing. I forwarded her the application form for a True Vital internship. Entry level, clean slate, nothing guaranteed, just a fair chance. Months later, I was at a healthcare conference in Minneapolis demoing a new data tool. Mid-afternoon, I slipped into a training room between sessions. That's where I saw her. Jenna sat in the back row, quiet, head down, taking notes. No flash, no attitude. She looked up and saw me. No drama, just a nod. I nodded back. That was all. On the flight home, Josh curled up beside me, head against my arm. Alyssa sat across the aisle, reading something about brain development. The kind of stuff that mattered to her, to us. Josh looked up at me. "You happy, Dad?" I looked at him, at the woman across the aisle who chose me when no one else did, at the sky out the window, wide open and quiet. "Yeah," I said. "I really am."